Hello everyone and welcome to today's African News program. My name is Giorgio Natale and I will be your presenter. Let's start with some politics. Most African countries have chosen the path of democracy as a form of exercise participatory politics. These policies are still fragile, existent, but are designing a new kind of politics with greater public acceptance and more international support. The inconsistency of the political structures, poor organization of power, and the precarious national ideology are three elevated risk factors that are threatening the very existence of the African state. It gives a clear lack of mass participation in political life. The dominant party, often unique, is the center of political life. Also, the leader is still based on excess charismatic powers. Although the underdevelopment, economic neocolonialism, lack of technical rational management difficult. These problems happen or occur now in Africa mainly because of decolonizations. Yes, decolonizations might give a new flag, a national anthem, and a new ambassador in the UN, and the brand of a new president. But the economic veins tends to be away from the control of Africa. Also, when the president wanted to intervene, this caused a coup d'état inside the country, and this had altered the politics and made difficult politics inside Africa. Also, the corruption in the vast majority of Africa is abysmal in all levels of government. Infighting among the tribes of the areas generate thousands of deaths and political instability in the region, as we had just said, because of the colonizations and the intervention of government that had caused these kind of problems, and the huge number of epidemics that plague this country. Coupled the inexistence of health support and struggles distance product of religious are also the factor. But everything is not so bad. Currently, we have observed as the UN agencies, the Red Cross, and other independent organizations are trying to help the needy in Africa, either with medical services or food. But these are more momentary relieving measures to not address the root problem. Africa must be aware of cultural and economic power they have. The only way that this continent can go ahead and closely match the modern world is that its inhabitants and rulers are aware of what is happening inside their country, so they can see the corruption that is inside Africa and they can correct it. The only way this country can progress is by taking out the corruption that is in the country and moving forward. This is all for today for politics at least, and let's move to geographical news with Omire Trejo. Thank you.
The principal water in Africa is tropical and subtropical. In the top and the bottom of the continent, we have a cool subtropical water, while in the middle we have a hot tropical water. Africa is the second largest continent and it occupies the deepest part of the planet. It is the only continent whose territory includes all four hemispheres: east, west, north, and south, and the geographical equator and Greenwich Meridian cross over it. Its boundaries are north, the Mediterranean Sea, which separates it from Europe; south, with the Indian and Atlantic Oceans; east, separate with Suez Canal, Red Sea, and the Indian Ocean with Asia; and west with the Atlantic Ocean. Africa has 9 rivers. Nile River is the principal in Africa and the largest. Earth River is the principal in South Africa, and Zambezi River is the second largest. Africa has over 70 mountains: Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Kenya, Mont Stanley, Mont Peak, and Mount Baker are the principal. Africa has abundance and variety of biodiversity. They have genetic variation, number, and variety. About 1,000 vertebrate species, quarter in the world mammal species, 20% of the bird species, and about 950 amphibian species. They also have the sixth part of the world's plant species, and they have an organization that protects Africa biodiversity, that is Biota Africa. Some facts about Africa are that Egypt is the most popular tourist destination in Africa. The world's largest desert is Sahara, that is located in Africa. Nigeria is the most populated country in Africa. The lowest point in the continent is Lake Assad. And
thank you, Mir. Now let's move on to cultural facts with Fernanda Gonzalez.
We want to talk about culture and tradition of Africa, because Africa has several walls within the same continent as it were, make their culture is very different. For example, in traditional Africa dance rhythm had a mixture of Arabic. Africa dance and rhythm had a unique style. The instruments that they use are drum, trumpet, and flute. And of course, you cannot forget to mention the wonderful and colorful African dance, which are known for their sharp movements and changes in the sculpt often include body paint and mask. With the passage of the time and the industrialization, African dance and rhythms have been affected by other culture and they also influence other culture. African culture also enjoys great artistic expression in terms of the development of printing, leatherwork, sculpture, painting, and ceramic. Jewelry is a big part of American culture. Many of the accessories used by both men and women, and the use of masks is also an important part of African culture, used for many spiritual rituals and ceremonies. The religion aspect plays different roles in Africa. On the one hand are the indigenous African religions, which are based on ancestor worship. Then we find the Islamic in the second religion, of more weight in Africa. Even today, Christianity continues to lead as the main religion of the African continent.
Let's move on to some social issues about Africa with Omire.
extreme poverty, illness, desertification, malnutrition, and the huge number of lives taken by the regional conflicts are some of social African issues. Democratic Republic of Congo, Liberia, and Zimbabwe are the poorest countries in Africa. UN helps Africa by promoting the development of democratic institutions. They establish peace between warring nations and support economic and social development. Of course, they promote the protection of human rights. Africa is likely to maintain the average of economic growth of 5%, according to the World Bank. This economic growth is thanks to their natural resources, the strong internal demand from its middle class, the increase in spending of infrastructure and foreign investment. According to the African Economic Outlook, Africans on the 30 years of age constitute 70% of the continent's population, and at least 60% of them are unemployment. 7 of every 10 youth in Africa live with less than $2 per day. Nigeria, Ethiopia, Uganda, and Zambia have 80% of youth poverty. Africa is the poorest and most developed continent, despite its rich natural resources. The average poor person in Africa lives with 70 cents per day, and more than 70 million Africans that live in Sahara have died from AIDS. The expert said that at least 25 million people that live there are HIV positive. Yeah.
Thank you again, Omire, and now let's move on to some sport and economic facts about Africa with Alfredo Alor.
After this weekend final group matches in the Orange CAF Confederation Cup, it is down to the business end of the competition with 4 clubs left to battle it out in the semis. Stade Malien won the battle against Etoile Sahel Sunday for the last Orange CAF Confederation Cup semi-finals place after both were involved in goalless draws. President of Gambia Paralympics Committee Sulaiman Koli has placed more emphasis on the winning and achievement of gold medals by athletes of the association. Koli, who advised Gambia Paralympics athletes to desist from being complacent with just participation in international sports events, also urged them to be fully committed and dedicated to training as they prepare to attend upcoming 2014 Commonwealth Games in UK and the 2016 Paralympics competition in Rio, Brazil. In other news, Usain Bolt postpones his retirement. Usain Bolt had suggested on the sidelines of the meeting in Brussels that he could hang up after the Olympics in Rio 2016, but then the decision of the 6 times Olympic champion raises several disapprovals. The world of athletics as well as the business is not ready to accept him. Also, the Jamaican should continue on the track at least until 2017 for the World Championship in London.
Thank you, Alor. Now let's finish with some hot topics of Africa.
10 things that you don't know about Africa. 1. It's the home of more than 1 million of penguins. 2. World's largest diamond producer. Africa is the world's largest producer of diamond, producing as much as 50% of world production. 3. Only Africa country has never been colonized. Ethiopia, oldest independent country in Africa and one of the oldest in the world. Ethiopia has never been colonized. 4. Lake with the largest number of fish species. Lake Malawi contains the largest number of fishing species of any lake in the world. 5. Sudan has twice as many Egyptian pyramids. Sudan has more pyramids than any other country on earth, much more than Egypt. 6. The second largest hospital in the world. Chris Hani Baraganat Hospital is the second largest hospital in the world after Western China. 7. The richest country in Africa. Equatorial Guinea is the richest country in oil reserve African grains. 8. The expansion of the Sahara Desert. The Sahara Desert is expanding due to desertification, the process of land. 9. Country with the highest concentration of wild animals. Tanzania has the highest concentration of wild animals. The country has 20% of the space of large mammal population in Africa. 10. Species endemic to Madagascar.